Growing up, my twin sister Becky and I were close, but things took a turn during her teenage years. Becky was an exceptional student, far ahead of me academically. In 8th grade, she received a scholarship from a prestigious school for gifted children. The school, however, was far from our home, requiring a lengthy commute. Becky refused the option of living on campus, claiming she wouldn't be comfortable. After much discussion, our parents decided Becky could live with our aunt, who had volunteered to take her in. Initially, everything seemed fine. Becky adjusted well to her new environment and thrived at school. When we visited, she spoke enthusiastically about her new friends and challenges. I was genuinely happy for her, never one to feel jealous. But over time, her attitude shifted. Her conversations became increasingly condescending, as though she enjoyed flaunting her success to make me feel inadequate. Small behavioral changes began to surface. During our visits, Becky became distant, speaking less and often adopting an attitude. We assumed she was simply stressed from school and dismissed it. My aunt confirmed our suspicions, reassuring us that Becky was just tired and needed space. As time passed, her behavior worsened. She became snappy, irritable, and began underperforming academically. Her teachers informed my parents that she had become disruptive in class, a stark contrast to the bright, focused student she once was. By her junior year, my parents were deeply concerned. Becky's new apartment became a topic of conversation among mutual acquaintances. She posted incessantly on social media about her fresh start, while conveniently leaving out the part where my parents funded it entirely. Her online persona painted a picture of someone thriving independently, but I knew the truth. I couldn't understand why my parents continued to enable her behavior. After everything she had done, cheating on Toby, attempting to disrupt my marriage, and throwing countless tantrums, they still catered to her whims. The message was loud and clear. Becky could do no wrong in their eyes, and I was expected to shoulder the blame for her mistakes. I decided to stop engaging with my parents about Becky altogether. There was no use in arguing with them or trying to make them see reason. They had made their choice, and I had made mine, to protect my peace and happiness. It has been a month since Becky moved out, and life has been much calmer. My husband, Jack, and I have been focusing on each other and building a future free from unnecessary drama. Becky has not reached out to apologize, nor do I expect her to. I've also cut back on my interactions with my parents. While I still love them, their unwavering support for Becky at my expense has created a rift that's hard to ignore. They continue to insist that I overreacted by kicking her out, but I've stopped defending my actions. Looking back, I realized that taking Becky in was a mistake, though it came from a place of compassion. I wanted to help her, but her toxic behavior made it impossible. Sometimes, the best way to support someone is to set boundaries and let them face the consequences of their actions. Jack and I are stronger than ever, and we've learned to prioritize our relationship above all else. Becky may never change, and my parents may never understand my perspective, but I'm at peace with my decision. Ultimately, I've come to accept that not all relationships can be salvaged. Becky and my parents will always be a part of my life story, but they no longer have the power to dictate my happiness. To anyone facing similar family struggles, my advice is simple: put yourself first. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being, especially when dealing with toxic relationships. Sometimes, the healthiest choice is to walk away and focus on the people who truly value you. Becky may have her new apartment and my parents' unconditional support, but I have something far more valuable: peace of mind and a loving, supportive partner by my side. For that, I am endlessly grateful. They contemplated bringing Becky home, but she vehemently refused. She insisted she belonged among her kind and would never fit into my more traditional high school. It was hurtful to hear, but we tried to be understanding. The tipping point came late one night when our aunt called, frantic. Becky had stolen money and disappeared. A police search found her attempting to purchase alcohol despite being underage. She was let off with a warning, but my parents decided it was time to bring her back home. Becky was livid. She fought tooth and nail, becoming more rebellious than ever. Back at home, she refused to cooperate with anyone, lashed out at our parents and teachers, and skipped school frequently. I even saw her smoking near campus, though she denied it to our parents. Convinced something deeper was wrong, my parents enrolled her in therapy. We initially assumed the pressures of school had broken her, but therapy revealed a different story. Through therapy, Becky disclosed the controlling behavior of our aunt. She described her as a helicopter parent, overly involved and excessively demanding. Becky was forced to study incessantly and wasn't allowed to engage in any leisure activities. Meals were accompanied by educational material, and outings with friends were forbidden. Our aunt's actions stemmed from her belief that her own potential had been wasted due to a lack of recognition from her parents. She projected this fear of failure onto Becky, pushing her relentlessly. The pressure drove Becky to rebel in secret, sneaking out, drinking, and acting out. Despite her turmoil, Becky was too afraid to leave the prestigious school, believing it was her only shot at success. Becky's struggles persisted even after returning home. Her behavior improved minimally over the years, and eventually, she was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. It was heartbreaking to realize that our aunt's treatment had contributed to such a severe condition. Our parents were devastated, blaming themselves for trusting our aunt. They filed a lawsuit against her for damages and won. The settlement money was put toward Becky's intensive therapy. Though she managed to graduate high school, she was in no condition to attend college and refused community college altogether. A few years after high school, Becky began dating Toby, our new neighbor. Despite her struggles, Toby seemed genuinely interested in her. He knew about her diagnosis because our parents, wanting to be transparent, told him everything. Toby reassured them that he cared for Becky and was willing to be patient. After a few months of dating, Becky convinced our parents to let her move in with Toby. Since he lived next door, they could monitor her and ensure she was safe. To help her reintegrate into normal life, our parents found her a low-stress receptionist job at a friend's company. Surprisingly, things seemed to improve. Toby's support brought positive changes to Becky. She was kinder, more cooperative, and even treated us with respect. Within a year, they decided to get married. My parents approved, hoping that this stability would further Becky's progress. Becky quit her job to be a stay-at-home wife, and for a while, it seemed like everything was falling into place. While Becky was rebuilding her life, I was also moving forward with mine. I married my longtime boyfriend, Jack, last year. From the start, Jack knew about Becky's struggles. When he first met her, she had flirted with him blatantly in front of me, making both of us uncomfortable. My family dismissed her behavior as part of her disorder, and Jack chose to ignore it. Over time, Becky stopped trying to get his attention, and we moved on. At my wedding, she appeared genuinely happy with Toby, and for the first time, I thought we were on the path to becoming a functional family. Unfortunately, the peace didn't last. A year ago, Becky began an affair with one of Toby's coworkers. When Toby discovered the infidelity, thanks to a careless text on Becky's unlocked phone, he immediately filed for divorce. The revelation shocked us all. My parents were devastated, and Becky moved back in with them temporarily. However, she complained incessantly about feeling like a failure living with her parents, and they pressured me to let her stay with Jack and me. After much deliberation, I agreed to let Becky move in. Jack and I hoped it would help her rebuild her self-esteem. The first day went well. Becky seemed genuinely happy and settled into our guest room. However, her behavior took a turn almost immediately. She began criticizing trivial things around our home, from the decor to the paint color. I brushed it off, thinking she was just adjusting. But the final straw came during dinner one evening. Becky openly flirted with Jack, brushing her hand against his and making inappropriate comments. Jack and I were appalled. After dinner, we retreated to our room and decided she had to leave. Becky's behavior was unacceptable, and we couldn't allow her to disrupt our home. When we confronted Becky, she erupted. She accused me of being jealous of her my entire life and claimed that Jack secretly wanted to be with her. Her delusions left us stunned. Jack told her to leave immediately, and I supported him. Becky packed her things and stormed out, calling us losers as she left. My parents were furious when they found out, blaming me for the fallout. They insisted that I should have been more understanding and let Becky stay. For a few days, no one knew where Becky had gone. Eventually, my parents discovered she had been staying with a friend out of town. Becky refused to return to their home, demanding her own place instead. Shockingly, my parents agreed and purchased an apartment for her, using their own money rather than her alimony. Becky's behavior has strained my relationship with my parents. They've made it clear they prioritize her over me, and I've decided to distance myself from the drama. My husband and I are focusing on our life together, and I'm at peace with cutting ties with Becky. Some people can't be helped, and it's not my responsibility to fix her.